have a problem with my anger. I cry a lot. I'm a compulsive gambler. We all have emotional problems and we have to live with it. Or do we? Hi, my name is Mark Raymond and I intend to teach you and lead you out of the cage you have built for yourself in your mind. The Mind Trap Club is a place where you can learn to see the world you have created, the world you did not even know was created by you, a world you must learn to wrestle back from the difficult master you have, your own identity. Today we are going to discuss emotions and what they are about. A standard concept I regularly hear about in our society is that we have an emotional problem. I don't believe this at all. Well, certainly not in the way we are taught. We do have an emotional problem, however, just not like you think. Today, I will discuss what emotions are about. The concept of emotion was first discovered when I started to meditate after learning from what has become a very good friend, but who I refer to as my weirdo spiritualist coach. One of the first lessons he taught me was how to meditate. I'd meditated for quite a while before this by breathing and relaxation exercises, but he taught me how to very deeply meditate. I will give you some practical lessons on meditation on separate videos. He taught me how to feel different energies, emotions, powers, the flows of society, how things are tied together, to be able to go into different states, to leave your body, to feel God, to feel the earth, to feel life, and all manner of other weird things, all of which could be done. However, as a person obsessed with personal development and truth, he one day led me to a place of centeredness, where it became a point of light. It was at this point I saw that all emotions become neutral and still. This was sort of familiar to breathing exercises where my emotions relaxed a little and released stress, except that here they became so relaxed they ceased to feel at all. Only here, when I looked at it, could I see that my emotions were neutral and still in a ready state. I found that all emotions from rage to love were here. This really confused me, because both good and bad feelings were here. I had to look at it deeper, so I dived in deeper with the new skills that had been taught by my weirdo spiritualist coach. This first led me to a world of hurt. Every pain I'd ever experienced came into clear focus. However, instead of running from the pain, I delved into it deeper. When finding a pain, I would sit with it and allow it to be, and it would begin to feel. The pain would first scream at me. I would cry, I would run, I would try to hide, but it would flow through me like a river. However, after it had flowed through me, what I found at the end of this, the pain was no longer here. This led me to seek deeper and find other forms of pain. I spent nearly 9 months of my life experiencing death just by every painful experience I'd ever experienced, again, at the end of which the pain just stopped. This was an odd place, but next I started to look at other feelings. If pain and hurt, if fully experienced, seem to stop and become neutral, then they must be there for my benefit. So I sought out my anger, my rage, my hatred, curious if these things were good or bad too. So I went through these feelings in the same way, allowing space for them to be. I spent a long time living in a state of anger and rage at everything. But after time, these two settled on the point of neutrality. So I decided, and I surmised, anger and rage must also be good. Then I went into the good feelings, and I too found out that they were also tied up. I allowed them also to be, to process and to experience, and they too went to neutrality. What did this teach me? That emotions are not either good or bad. They are a language in which we see the world, translated into our center self to see the world. It is a language in which the true me sees everything. So I decided all emotions are good, and that emotions was the most important of all languages. I went further. I chose no longer to think in words, but to think in emotions. Prior to this, my mind would think in 1,000 million words in my head every second, and there was no peace. It was exhausting. Now with emotions, I could think 1,000,000 times faster because I was no longer in my head. I was feeling the world. I can feel the doubts. Let's look at the analogy. Do you see with emotions or do you see with your eyes? When you drive your car or catch a train, most of the time you sit there and you are not really there. You get in, you sit there, and you remember nothing about what you did. You basically arrive at your destination, but you saw nothing about the time you spent. But every now and again, you are captivated by birds flying in the sky, the reflections on a lake. a great scenery, a couple's embrace which is sweet. Someone put makeup in the mirror of a car and you feel the moment. You are in that moment and you feel all the energies and it makes you smile. So what happened? Your eyes were open, your ears were listening, your skin was feeling in both circumstances, but one time you could see and the other time you couldn't. You see, we don't see with our eyes, hear with our ears, or feel with our skin. We see, we hear, and we feel with emotions. We only see anything by feeling the world. Our world is only in focus when we translate it into emotions. Let's look at a second analogy. Think about your relationship you have with someone, a loved one, a parent, a child. It could even be your pet. Now try to write down all the words needed to explain the relationship you have with that significant someone. To explain it in words would require you to write a massive body of works. Now instead of thinking about the relationship, look for the feelings in yourself which are related to that relationship. You can almost feel everything about the relationship in a brief moment. You can feel the depth, the connections, the joys, the frustrations, the angers, all together, and it is clear. Emotions are your true eyesight and hearing. So I thought on this for a long time. I come to the conclusion that emotions are like rope. What I had been doing in this process earlier, when I was going through the different phases of this development, was basically looking at each emotion, knotting each issue. When the knots were undone, the emotions were clean and straight, like a piece of rope. Once I'd gone through all the different emotions, and all the emotions were clean, I had a large collection of clean emotions which were all straight and smooth, like rope. I had all the emotions and I was allowing all of them to be here. I found I wasn't controlled by the feelings. I was empowered because of them. I could see things I couldn't previously see and the world was clear. I had the building blocks of everything. However, I was still not effective in my life. I was not skilled in building with these emotions. I was a child. As I looked into this further, I understood that everything we have built as a society, as humans, is completed around the principle of using emotion like rope into patterns, like building a net to catch fish. This understanding was a mind-blowing moment for me, which changed the way I perceived the world, and which this day is how I pretty much see everything. So if rope can be used to build nets, and we use these nets to catch metaphoric fish, then the next task I needed to do was learn how to build nets with emotions. I was not skilled in weaving with these emotions. So I looked closer at the nets the world had already built, and after a time of looking at these emotional webs, I started to see patterns in everything. These patterns were all designed around ideas, concepts, and they all had a purpose to catch a behaviour, direct people in actions, enable people to learn, bind couples together, build nations, sports clubs, religions, etc., etc., etc. These patterns were woven in vast arrays. However, and even though there were similarities in structure, the variety of emotions used was vast. So how then are nets built? Let's look at practical real rope nets are built first. An actual rope net is something designed to catch a specific target. E.g., if I want to catch a shark, I need strong fibres. They can take the thrashing of a vicious animal we are catching. However, if you want to catch butterflies, this type of net would be no good. The butterflies would just go through the holes in the net, and if it did touch a fibre, would be destroyed by it. To catch butterflies, we need to find soft fibres that can catch the butterfly without damaging it. However, if we try to catch a shark with this net, it would only irritate it and it would tear it apart in a second. It isn't any different when we build nets in the real world we live in. So we need to learn how to build nets, and we need to be clear on the building blocks. So I decided there are 4 things which need to build all things. 1. Emotions. All emotions, but they must be unknotted by a previous trauma. 2. Thought. We must learn to weave these emotions into structures. We need to think the emotions into structures. 3. Energy. We must learn to empower these structures of emotions with the energy that these things need to make a difference. 4. Decisions. And the greatest power of all was the power of a decision, which forges these 3 things into the structures we create. The decision is the true power of all of this. So I decided as humans are builders, but we are builders of emotions, which we weave into structures and systems, and then we empower with our very essence. Our species, we have created so many weaves: laws, family, religion, society, clubs, love, culture, ideals, politics, money, languages, science, etc. Each one of these things I could see was created by man, all with these four things. And I decided the most important of these things was emotion. Emotion is the greatest of all things we must learn on our journey. For if we do not feel with emotions, we are blind. If we are blind, we are disconnected. If we are disconnected, we are nothing. If we are nothing, then we are alone. If we are alone, then we are dead and cannot partake with anything, anyone. In time, we cease to exist because we have no reference. Is it the fish's fault if it escapes your net? Be the master net builder and catch the right fish the right way. Take control of your life and change the world.